One. What's up, Kyle? How you doing, man?
Doing good, Brock. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How's it? How's life in the bayou treating you?
Me, not so bad. I mean, it's eh. The swamp and everything is not really my kind of thing, but I know the town I live in pretty much just has everything I need for the most part. So it's not too bad. The food here is pretty good.
Oh, I bet the food is great. They grab like everything out of the river and just dump it into boiling water with
Yeah,
like 50
absolutely.
seasoning. I had a girlfriend that lived in Louisiana, and they had this rinky-dink trailer, and then right behind their house was a just a stream, and they'd have catfish traps, crawfish traps, and then sometimes they'd go fishing for the fuck of it. And they would always pull out these like pounds of crawfish. And then they, like I said, they didn't live in the best means, which I mean, which of course I'm sure they definitely were trying to change that, but always had like absolutely great food, like fresh caught food from their literal backyard.
Yeah, and something I get a lot is just when I'm going up to like buy gas, just some random person will approach me like offering to sell me crawfish. And I'm like, I
Oh,
don't know, like I don't know what to say. Like I don't cook crawfish, so I'm like, no thanks, sir.
see, whenever I, because we bought some lobsters when we was up in Boston at like one of the lobster yards. We were going to go to one of the lobster yards, but it was busy, so we went to a supermarket. And when we were there, the guy gave us a bunch of lobsters, and then as we were about to check out, one of the other guys in the group ran up. It's like, "Hey, man, did you check the lobsters?" He's like, "No, what do you mean?" He grabbed one of the lobsters, and supposedly on the gill flaps, you squeeze them, and if they're not firm, then they're not good. So we squeezed them, and like they literally just like cave in. Like they didn't break or anything, but it felt like nothing was there. And then we went back. He's like, "Hey, man, all 12 of these lobsters are just completely fucked. We're going to need new lobsters." So I don't know if that applies the same way as crawfish, but you can't do that with like 3 pounds of crawfish. So I guess it would be pretty difficult to judge if you're getting quality product.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've only peeled crawfish like once or twice since I've been here, and I apparently suck at it. To me, like for you do like so much work just to get like a small pinch of meat.
Oh,
But
right.
apparently, like people think it's worth it. I mean, it's good. I like crawfish when it's already peeled, but it's a messy process. And I don't know if maybe what you said applies to crawfish. You'd have to ask somebody who's, I guess, grown up here.
Yeah. Well, on that same note, we do eat nuts like pecans, peanuts, walnuts. Them fuckers are hard to get open. Save the peanut, you can like crack that in your tooth and like kind of like I've got a system where I can like crack it on my molars and kind of like fiddle it out and like then pop it and spit the trash. And that's good. But pecans, you've got to like
It's
crush them and pick them. And if you don't get that one little filler, it like fucks with your mouth.
like a sunflower seed, pretty much. And I never get how people throw like 20 seeds in their mouth and just crack. They manage to crack them open, not eat the whole, and get the seed down somehow.
Yes, I have a system where I can crack them on my back and then push them to the other corner of my mouth and store them like a fucking chipmunk, and then just shoot them out, just shoot the trash out, and just just crunch the seed and just swallow it with minimal choking on like anything else.
See, I have a feeling now if I tried that, I would probably. So I've got this like I recently had this filling done like in the back on my upper top tooth, and ever since, like it's common with cavities and whatnot. Once you get them filled, if you so much as get the smallest thing in a certain part of the tooth and you bite
Yeah,
down,
done.
it's awful. It's this awful sharp pain, and I get the feeling if I tried eating sunflower seeds, I would probably get the tippy point of the hole and it would just go straight into it. And I'd be like, oh my God, this is awful. Never again.
Sticking molar like Excalibur, you have to like pull the bitch out with pliers.
Yeah. I'm like, dang, I didn't have this when I had the cavity. I didn't have this problem. Maybe I should have kept the cavity. Not for real.
Dude, I mean, honestly, like we just need to wait for veneers to cost like $1,000 for the whole procedure, and just I'll just run with those because usually, like I was reading this book with Native Americans, how they would take some of them after the Native American, like after we got done like throwing them in reservations. That was the word. And how we would take some of them to Britain, and then they would be fascinated by how perfect their teeth are, even though they weren't brushing their teeth twice a day, or probably at all. I mean, you'd figure if someone had a Native American toothbrush, that'd be like, yeah, see, even back then, the Native Americans brushed their teeth, so you do it too, twice a day. Like, surely that would have been commercialized somehow. But it was apparently attributed to how they continuously ate meat, and then I guess like maybe the sinew and the muscle like rubbed their teeth, and also the strength of continuously chewing something that wasn't pressure cooked into slop. And apparently somehow that like strengthened their jawline, strengthened their teeth, kept them polished, kept them spaced because they grew correctly. But the continuous consumption of grains and cereals, that didn't really give us that like that forming effect when we were younger and our teeth were still growing as children. So cavities, braces, continuously brushing your teeth, which honestly you should probably do and just not leave up to chance, because those dudes were genetic savages and there weren't any weaklings in there, because you die. So that can't apply to us, but still brush your teeth. But these different eating habits, if we're going to keep doing that, it kind of needs to jump off to like, we can't expect our biological systems that have been perfected over a couple 100,000 years to be like, oh, that's fine if you want to eat corn and not meat continuously. No, I'll still grow you perfect Hollywood teeth all the time, every time.
Yeah, well, and also, I mean, the reason we have all these teeth problems today is because of the food that we eat now. Everything's so processed, and uh,
Sugar.
all the sugar, all that stuff. Um, so, so you were saying basically all they had to do was gnaw like tough meat, and then
Yeah, I
essentially
mean,
clean their teeth.
yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense, like in a way, like it'd be like wet sanding,
Uh,
because they didn't sit down and eat every day. They had jerky, which they smoked, and then they
yeah.
just chewed on it and chewed on it, and then maybe a little bit. I mean, so they ate it, and I mean, it would make sense that that type of abrasive, maybe it had some salt on it, maybe there was some sand caught in there. I don't know, but like you would assume that would like a soft sanding or polishing of the teeth, and then that you would chew it, and then your teeth would have to like reaffirm themselves and kind of like double down on their stability to keep from falling out, like just natural wear and tear, and then and the body repairs itself. So I mean that makes sense, but of course I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, and that's interesting too because I've always wondered just how long have people been using toothbrushes, and before that, what did they use to clean their teeth if they cleaned them at
I
all?
I think the first toothbrush was in China. It's where they got pig hide and the coarse pig hairs and just attached it to a stick. I don't know the year off the top of my head, but I believe that's the first I've ever heard of it.
So kind of like just a non-intentional discovery. Hey, this is really strong material. I wonder what happens if I scrub my teeth with it.
Well, a lot of history I've discovered and a lot of like innovation. Like I could remember me telling you about that staple food back in the Amazon where it's a tuber that has to be crushed, mixed with water, buried, fermented, rinsed, and then patted into a dough. And only then is it completely edible. In any other process since then, it's poisonous and it kills you.
Yeah.
Imagine. Like that's either someone bringing that technology to them, or that's thousands of years and hundreds of dead bodies.
Yeah, that's scary to think about. If it's all just trial and error, people everybody is dying off, and then one day you get somebody that lives through it, and it's like, hey, we should do it this way. This is a good idea.
It's
It's
like,
only
what is
killed the other 90% of us, but
right? Oh, the 99.999 because I found that one dude and he's like, "What'd you do, Billy?" He's like, takes out his elk skin and fucking a list of shit. He's like, "I don't know, man. That seems like a lot. We can just kill a turkey."
yeah, you would think the simpler option would be to stay away from stuff that isn't killing everyone.
Right.
I'm also curious to find out who the first person was that figured out you could get high from the pot plant. Like,
Uh, I think that might be around the same thing as coffee, where it's theorized that goat herders and sheep herders saw their sheep eating the berries, and then they're like acting all crazy and shit. And they're like, "Hey, fuck it, let's see." Because traditionally, if an animal eats it, you're good to eat it. I remember that was one of in my survival books my grandpa got me. It's like if an animal's eating it, it's probably good. If not, rub it on the inside of your skin, and if it doesn't leave a red mark, then it's probably not dangerous. So, I mean, because a dog knows what's poisonous, a cat knows what's poisonous, a cow knows what's poisonous. Just inherently, we're fucking retarded. We don't know that shit. So, I don't know,
well,
man.
yeah, there's so many tasty things out there in the wild that just, it's not fair. They just lure us in, and it's like, wow, this looks delicious, and then you eat it, and boom, you're
Yeah,
dead.
like a mushroom or a dart frog. Like every other animal knows is like, hey, that blue frog will kill you. And then a 5-year-old's like, ooh, pretty blue froggy. Let me touch it with my delicate hands. And then it's like dead baby.
I think the one weakness for dogs is probably chocolate
Oh
because
yeah, oh fuck them
they
up.
they seem to just ignore, like, I guess they don't get that warning. I guess they enjoy chocolate like we do, and but they can't handle the caffeine, and so it does screw them up and could potentially kill them.
I think it's another chemical like native to the actual chocolate plant itself. But I think the reason they go for it is because of the sugar. Because we're evolutionarily like we're drawn to like sugary sweet stuff because normally that means more energy. So if you
Yeah.
find a fruit, hey, it's sweet. So that's how they've like hijacked our subconscious. Like, hey, this is sweet. It's good for you. It's going to like help you build energy to get through the day. It's like, no, it's a bunch of bullshit that's probably going to make you fat and die.
Yeah, and they've made it more appealing than the natural
Right.
sweets. That's what's kind of that. I guess that's our detriment, basically, because
It's
it's
so
suddenly like, wow, these apples and bananas that were centuries back, they were like, man, this is the candy of
shit.
our time. And
The
now it's
shit.
like, if you have a chocolate bar or a candy or whatever, a cookie or cake, and then you have an apple over here, it's like, screw that apple. Ain't nothing to it.
Rot into a bubbling pool of maggots by the time you decide, I think I'll eat an apple.
Yeah, man. They,
Like
they,
I
they
can't I can't even remember because we've got water. We've got a case of 40 bottles of water. And I can't even remember the last time where I was like, because I'll have green tea, which the green tea's fine. It's better than a soda, but at the same time, it's like I can't taste that water. It's bullshit. Let's get this green tea. I mean, it's not as good as the water, but it's like maybe like if water was 100, maybe the green tea would be like 85. It's not like a 20 like a soda is.
yeah, true. And it's the same with the a lot of these fruit drinks. Like in when I was in elementary school, right? I think like sixth grade, they took the soft drinks out of the soda machines and whatnot. I'm sure everybody remembers this, and they
Oh,
replaced them with these sugary fruit drinks.
yeah.
And I remember a friend of mine, he was just reading off the label one time, and he was like, "Wow, this has 40 grams of sugar in it." And he goes and he tells our sixth grade teacher or whatever. He's like, "Hey, like this has just as much sugar as the Cokes did. Like, why aren't we able to drink these?" She's like, "Oh, that's okay. That's natural sugar.
Oh
It's
my
better
God.
than it's better than what's in the Coca-Colas."
Those fuckers lied to us for years. Like I was reading this Facebook post. I can't remember what it was. It's like, I mean, and I'm sure this happened to you. They used to just make us sit at lunch and not talk at all. You sat and you ate. If that happened now, I'd tell them to go fuck themselves. But as a child, we were just so completely clueless about the way the world works that we were just told if your teachers tell you not to talk at lunch for any reason whatsoever, you do as they say, which is bullshit.
Well, see, I don't know, Brock. I think you spent a lot of time in detention or something. We were.
Now, now,
They didn't let you talk at all during lunch.
no, like a cafeteria of 300 people, and that was the whole high school. Like this happened in high school too. You would sit down and you would not talk, and if anyone heard anything, the vice principal would be like, "Jody Callister, I hear you, you son of a bitch. Shut the fuck up." This will be like another day of silent lunch. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I didn't do anything. It was like the 8th graders or something that got into a fight and they punished the whole school.
Oh, okay. Then in that case, I see where you're talking about. Um, yeah, they would do the same to us. Like if the class acted up, the teacher would be like, "All right, I'm sitting with you guys today. No one's gonna talk. No one says a word." And that's that.
Bullshit. Absolute bullshit.
Yeah, that was the thing I hated about school mainly because there was always just like a few idiots kind of just screwing everything up for us. Like we'd get our whole PE break ruined just because of what a handful of people did.
Yeah, but punish the handful of people.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they have the whole group mentality that, oh, I guess if we punish everyone else, that's an even worse punishment for them.
No, it's going to cause those kids to gang up on that. Because if it was like the class bully or like the football player, that guy's fine. But if it was like you or me, this like the tiny little, I don't know if you play Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh cards in high school, the little Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh guy, they're going to beat the shit out of that kid.
Yeah, no, sadly, I wasn't brave enough to bring Yu-Gi-Oh cards to school in high school. I was like, yeah, no, I can't do that. I don't want to get thrown in the trash. I'm a little guy.
Right, dude.
Yeah, no, I tried to stay under the radar as much as I could, like, because like there's some big dudes and they'll pick you out.
It ain't worth it. They smell the fear. They smell
Oh,
the
absolutely.
anxiety. They know. You look at them and you look away and they're like, "I saw you, bitch. You come here. I got you."
For me, actually, the worst people that gave me the most trouble were the people that I hung around with, some of my own friends, because they were just idiots. Like, I always had this one guy, like, well, you know, cup checking was a thing, right? You just did it to people.
Odd.
Like, I won't be surprised if I can't have kids.
Right.
I've been cup checked so many times, and it's my own friends doing it to me. Or like I'm going down the hallway and just shove your face in the locker for no reason, or they pick you up and they try to wrestle you to the ground. I'm like, dude, just leave me alone.
Yeah, like it's weird, like when you're that young and you think like someone's like a half friend and a half like domestic terrorist, where they're like, "You're the country I'm bombing today and every other day." It's really weird. Like I had like not a lot, but 2 or 3 of those friends that like one day they're super cool, super chill, and then the other day they're like, "You're on my shit list today. Get ready for it."
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a guy like that. If he could be really cool and then, he had an awful day at home or something, it's like, oh God, what's he gonna do today?
His parents hit him on the way home from school the day before.
Yeah.
They got a 5th of whiskey in the floorboard. It's like, "I told you not to fucking talk to me like this. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry. I'm gonna beat the shit out of Kyle tomorrow."
Yeah, no, apparently whoever this guy was that would love to put me in headlocks for the fun of it, I'm guessing maybe his dad was at home putting him in headlocks or something, or an older brother. Whatever was happening, I was like, well, I'm gonna be on the receiving end of it the next day.
He didn't think of that shit. Something happened to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude,
That's why I would be so happy sometimes when some of these guys would like get in trouble. They'd get sent to alternative school for a few weeks, and I'd be like, "Oh, thank goodness! Please stay in trouble. I don't have to deal with you anymore."
and it's so weird. High school, you thought that's just the way it is. That's how the world works. And now as an adult, you're like, hey, fuck you. You're a douchebag. Block on Facebook. I never have to talk to you again.
True, that's very true, but also there's a lot of things about high school that is also reflective of the real world. Because I mean, you don't really ever get away from bullies. They're still out there. You still
You
got to
don't
deal with them in the corporate world or on the job and whatnot, but it's a whole different level of bullying and
uh,
whatnot.
they've got like seven system plans where they start like months in advance. Like you don't like open the elevator for them and they're like, now the process begins. We're gonna fuck this guy up.
Yeah, so instead of them actually physically taking you and dunking your head in the toilet, giving you your swirly or wedgies and putting you in the trash can, it's more about mentally doing
Passive
that.
aggressive office man.
Yeah. See, you see, in the adult world, you can't get away with those things. That's just everybody outgrows that, but it doesn't evolve in the mental aspect of it. You're still going to get
No,
mentally or symbolically wedgied at some points of your life in every
I
aspect.
mean like because like if you were at work and someone just decided to come up and punch you in the face, the best thing you could do for yourself is to just lay down on the floor and hope that they call it that, or just try to get away because that person's done. You don't have to worry about that person anymore. He's gone. That doesn't fly in the workplace. But they could like psychologically and mentally fuck with you every day, and then if they have the correct political corrections in the workplace, they're like, oh, that's just Tommy. Tommy's a crazy person. Just roll with it. Tommy's just having fun. He
Yeah,
doesn't mean
Tommy's
anything.
been here for 20 years, man.
Now,
He's a good person, you know. He just has his
Tommy,
moments. You just got to learn to deal with him. You know, you got to deal with him in the right way.
you got to live. Maybe you've done something. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. Just talk to Tommy. He's a very understanding individual.
Yeah, because that's clearly worked out already. I
Oh my
mean,
God. No. And then if the problem persists and little old Kyle Godwin has been sitting there at his desk for 2 years and Tommy's been there for 20, Kyle, I don't know what it is now. I know I told you last checkup that you were a great employee, but you've been slacking off. And if you don't improve, then I don't know if we can keep you employed here.
well, in that case, you know, it's like you're already solving the problem for me.
Yeah, not the way I wanted, but I guess I asked for the problem to be solved.
Yeah. Well, luckily for me, nothing to that extreme has happened.
I,
I haven't been bullied in the workplace, but it does go on.
oh, of course it does. Definitely not us though. It's most likely a woman. It's a Chad picking on any like single or engaged girl that he get his hands on. He's just like, I'm Chad. I'm the high school quarterback. I was a big deal, and now I barely graduated college with the help of this nerd I helped get weed and alcohol and a chick that never fucked him. So I got my degree, and now I work here. And Chad still runs the game. It's like, no, no, Chad.
Chad can Chad's just never able to move on past his former mentality. Uh-oh, did we lose connection? Oh no, what happened? Oh,
All
sorry,
right,
it
so
froze
you're
up
back.
on me
I
there a
think you're
second.
back. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I'll be able to edit it out. It's all good.
Yeah. But yeah, you were saying Chad never really is able to move on past his mentality.
Nope. He still got that high school mentality because he never had to struggle.
Yeah. Which kind of I think it really catches them off guard when someone actually goes out of their way to try to expose them.
Oh, if they get like Me Too'd or something, and then 150 people hop on his Facebook page, he's like, I don't know what to do. So this isn't Chad's world anymore. I need my mom, and then just shit crumbles.
Oh yeah. No, I guess that's one of the plus sides of social media is it's doesn't take a whole lot of effort to really destroy someone.
It does
It's
not, but that is a double-edged sword.
it is a very big double-edged sword because like oh I'll give you an example. I'm sure you've already aware of this, but did you remember watching the what was that documentary about the dude that murdered cats and then eventually murdered a person and
Yes.
reported it? So
Yeah.
at one point, the group that was trying to track him down through social media, they thought they found this one guy in like South Africa, and they were pretty they felt pretty certain it was him, and so like they everyone started going after him and uh, accusing him of being this killer and everything, and wound up driving this dude to committing suicide.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
and this was just some random dude way off in another country who just happened to hit the worst unlucky lottery in the world.
Right.
The
Like
fact that that could
he
yeah, the
must
fact
have
that,
to
that
pick
that
up
could just happen to anybody. Like you could just be minding your own business, doing your everyday thing, and somebody misidentifies you as a killer.
crazy.
And by the time all that happens, it like the damage is so far progressed that you can't really undo it. It takes so long for misinformation to get corrected that most people may never even know the real story because
Right. And just
like once everybody sees something like gets an opinion and they're outraged over something, they probably never hear the correct side of it once it comes out because it's not as popular and it doesn't go through the networks as easy.
oh yeah, and just think about this poor dude. Like say 50 people in that group going after him just hard. And then he messages one and is like, "Hi, I'm not sure what's going on here, but if you could just talk to me for a second, I'm sure that something we can like this is a huge misunderstanding. We can work the situation." And this guy goes back to the group. He's like, "He's trying to talk to me. He's trying to say it never happened. This killer is brazen, just no remorse, nothing. Get him harder." And he's just like, "No, I'm just trying to open a dialogue and I'm so scared, please."
When are you
And
going to give
then
up
he's
the
just,
act,
just
buddy?
like,
We've got you. This innocent guy act isn't working, so you need to drop it, okay?
exactly. You're not fooling us anymore.
Yeah, that's one of the many reasons that makes me want to delete social media. But I'm still so addicted to
And,
it
and
that I can't
then they
really
release,
can't really
and
get
I
detached
spend,
from it.
yeah, no. And then you download TikTok, and then 4 hours of your life disappears. It's like I swore I thought it was only an hour, and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. It's like fuck.
Oh, well, yeah. No, see, I won that battle against TikTok by never really getting into it in the first place. It's like drugs, right? The way to win is just to never try it.
Yeah, but for me, I want to
Yeah,
use it
Brock's
as
tried too many
marketing.
drugs though.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, no. But no, I'm trying to use it for marketing because if a billion people are using TikTok and how their algorithm works, to my understanding, is every video is sent to people. And if a certain percentage of those people react to it and like it, then it goes out to a larger group and a larger group. So if I post something funny on the podcast, if I have a funny clip here I upload, and they're talking about expanding it up to 3 minutes, so that's even better for me. So if I do a funny video or something, and then they like it, and then it explodes, I get subscribers. So I kind of have to. And then also you have all these people, all these small business owners that make like these take like I've gotten seven, like what? I think 10 people. I filled out at least a month and a half worth of scheduling off TikTok alone instantly.
Wow.
Like, like within the first week and a half. Like I've had to stop. Like I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in March. Maybe I shouldn't be scheduling that far ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I get well, like for anybody who's trying to, build something and have it be a success, you can't really get around social media. I mean, you got to compete with everyone else, and technology is just you can't avoid it. I mean, for the average person who's just working their 9 to 5 and whatnot, and they have their source of income, they don't plan on doing anything on their own. They're fine. They could probably get by with not using social media, but if you're like I said, if you're trying to take off, you gotta get where the audience is.
Man, just I think a lot of people are learning now with the coronavirus and how automation is, and because I truly think the coronavirus has accelerated like corporate America's plans for automation by like 5 or 6 years. I think a lot of people are like realizing very slowly that the 9 to 5 gig is dying, if not dead, within the next couple of like maybe half a decade, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's something. It to me, it's a little unnerving, a little bit, because I guess the status quo getting interrupted, and I don't know, like
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what are people need to do something, even if their job sucks.
Right.
We don't want to get replaced by AI, and I think like I guess your best defense against that is going into the tech field, or um, going into the medical field. I don't see them getting replaced anytime soon, but our low income earners, they're the first
Oh
that are
yeah.
probably going to feel the effects.
Oh yeah. Truck drivers done.
Yeah,
Restaurant workers done. Hell, middle management done. You just have an AI system hooked up to whatever machine line that you've got 20 people standing at. It's like machine system beta. Can I please go to the restroom? You were allotted 5 minutes. Please be back at a hurried pace. It's just like you don't need a manager anymore. Then you've got your manager above all those machines to make sure everything's working.
so you've essentially got your worker nodes and your manager nodes,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't
And
know. Still, technology is still in a way kind of crappy though, because it breaks all the time.
yeah, that, that
So
that won't take long because then they'll just hire everybody as like a load paid maintenance worker.
it's just mainly in charge of keeping the machine rolling. You know,
Yep.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it for the truck drivers especially, which I do wonder. Even if they have automated trucks and whatnot, if they're still going to let them operate without drivers, or at least somebody. Like I mean, you wouldn't have a. I don't think they would ever have a jet that's able to fly on its own that doesn't have somebody in the passenger seat that can take over if something goes wrong. I think
Yeah.
they'll probably treat a truck the same way. If anything, maybe they'd let somebody remote control it remotely.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So they would, how I understand it, they would essentially let them operate autonomously on 231, but once they drive through Troy and Ozark, they'll have a truck driver in a cubicle with like a wheel, and they'll Bluetooth it or however, and he'll operate it in the city limits.
And he'll have his little horn thing that he can pull from his cubicle, just or maybe from his home office.
It doesn't even work. It's completely fake. It doesn't even do anything. He's just like, I just need the nostalgia.
Imagine if it did work though. Like it would be so much easier just to blow at everybody then, just because you're not there. You can just get behind somebody, just pull the horn, intimidate
Oh,
them,
no.
aggravate them just to be a prick. Wow,
And then the
wow, this is
AI,
fun.
and then the AI management system. It's like employee 654. 654-229. You've blown your whistle 17 times within the past hour. Please report to management. It's like, fuck.
Your horn has been disabled. You can't use it for another 72 hours.
Exactly. And then the cost of shipping is going to plummet because, well, the cost of it, not the actual cost of the item, but the cost of shipping is going to plummet because you just need to spend 50 to 100, hell, not 50, who am I kidding? Maybe like $500,000 on each truck. And if they don't have any laws limiting them to like 8 hours of driving a day, then fuckers go 24/7.
Yeah. Well, and I also wonder too if they can develop some like heavy duty drones that can also carry like large loads if they're capable of that and just replacing trucks altogether.
I think Amazon's been given FAA clearance for like Boston and New York for their delivery system.
So they can deliver small loads to people or
yeah.
Okay.
Which that's fucking whew, that's a bit much.
It's a bit much. Yeah. Are people still controlling them from like a remote location?
Yeah, I'm sure. Or autonomously. I mean, if they have like an AR system that like highlights the path and all the drone has to do is follow it, then yeah.
Dang. I don't know what we're gonna do, Brock.
Dude, I don't know. Like, stuff is going to be so cheap, but this whole existential growth path that all these companies take, where it's like we have to grow continuously every year, or we're a failure. Like our stock prices will plummet if we make 60 billion this year and only make 61 billion. That's not 8%. We have to get 65 billion, and then we have to have all the money.
Just more AI.
So even though, yeah, so even if the cost of like production, shipping, and like even if all that just plummets down to nothing, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get cheaper.
Right.
Because I mean, we've already got cans of ravioli that are 88 cents a can. How much cheaper are you expecting that can of Chef Boyardee to get?
Not too much, I wouldn't think.
50 cents?
Maybe 50 cents.
I would not, like, I couldn't eat a can that cost 50 cents. Like, if it was corn or something, yeah, maybe. It's like B-tier corn. It's like, if I'm, like, homeless or, like, struggling and I've got, like, 6 kids to feed, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. That's their problem in the future. Like, maybe. But if a can of Chef Boyardee costs 50 cents, I'd be like, what's wrong with it?
I don't know. I'd probably still eat it. Just to be a cheapskate.
Just to be a cheapskate. Yeah, and then nobody has a job. And then it's Corona time, like Corona 2.0, and no one has a job. And that 50 cents of Chef Boyardee is like, it's like, Mom, we can't afford this. It's like, well, come on, Billy, let's just let them have a treat. It's like, if we buy this, we can't afford electricity. It's like, how bad could it get? Because it could get pretty bad.
True, yeah. I don't know. That's I guess this post or what do they call it? Dystopian universe that's probably emerging.
Oof.
Scary to think about. Technology, I think, scares me just about more than anything.
Oh, and that's someone whose degree is in technology too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell,
Because just to see, well, just you know, because just to see how fast the technology is moving now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's because now we've got the self-learning AI that what is it?
Yeah.
What did they call that again? I should know this, but I'm blanking. Machine learning, basically.
Yeah, machine learning.
they've
Yeah.
got all these systems, this software that runs that determines I believe it runs metrics and determines prices for tickets for like flights and whatnot. And it's interesting because the creators of it can't tell you exactly how it
How
works.
it works. Yeah. Yeah, that's always how it happens. And then Skynet's like, hey, but guess what? Your ticket's going to be $1,000 from Atlanta, Montgomery, and no one's going to know why.
Yeah, really. And then it's like, I hope you guys have a plan for controlling that. You've seen way too many science fiction movies to not. You ought to know.
Like I was reading this book, Homo Deus, and I've got his previous hardcover. It's Yuval Noah Harari. It's his follow up to Sapiens, Homo Deus, and he's talking about how they've run like studies or they've come up with like simulations and situations to where what happens when we have the first AI member of a board of a company? Is he going to vote? It's like, is it possible that he could be biased towards more AI centered investment portfolios? So if you've got a board at a hedge fund and they want to invest this new $1 billion check that they got somehow, how likely is it this AI is going to want to how likely is it this AI is going to want to invest that money into another company that deals in AI? I mean, or the development of AI. It's like it's not like he's going to like want to invest. It would make no sense. Human for a human, it would make no sense for him to invest that money into a candy factory or a bookstore. He would want it to go to like whatever, like Sunshine's company. It's like, hey, well, it's like we're going to invest in that guy, that company, because they work on AI, and I've run like subsystems that tell me that if we invest in this company and they pull off half what they promised, my computational power goes up 50%, and then I become smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I wouldn't know. That's getting really deep. I don't. Oof.
And then he's like, everybody's voting. It's like, do we want to fire all the human employees and adopt this new AI based machine worker? And the AI, like from human based logic, maybe it's different with the AI. The AI is going to go like, yeah, hire my cousins. Why not? Get rid of these meat sacks. They spend 20 minutes in the bathroom. The retention rate's horrible. You'll never have to fire this worker. And then we can fire HR because no one's going to be touching the new female's ass during her probationary period.
Yeah. So basically, it's in a way another species of life form. This come to life and it's looking out for its own essentially.
I mean, it's one day it's going to be like one day it's going to be indistinguishable. Like I just got done listening to Ready Player 2, the sequel to Ready Player 1, and they kind of focus in on AI. And I'm trying not to spoil it, but if I continue on this tangent, I'll have no reason. By the time I'm popular enough, everybody will read the book already. But pretty much they found a way to like map your neural network, and then with that mapped, they can just plug it into an algorithm, and then now you're Black Mirror resurrected into the internet web, into the interwebs.
Ooh, that sounds like something that what is it? Elon Musk is trying to do with his what is it? Neuralink.
Neuralink, yes. I think that's just cognition. I think that's processing power, not necessarily the. Now, of course, that could be built under the guise of, hey, once we remap your cerebral cortex and all that, you can move your fingers because the pathway has been rewritten. But I think Joe Rogan, he said it was so that humans can have the computational power to keep up with AI,
Ah, okay.
which that again, that makes sense.
What I would like for them to do is to find a way for us to potentially still learn like while we're sleeping. Could you imagine, like, if we were able to still like that may be like kind of a nightmare for some people.
Oh,
But
I
could you
love sleep.
imagine? Yeah, could you imagine if like if you were able to spend half of your sleep cycle just going over stuff in your head, like
Yeah,
just learning stuff?
yeah.
How much
Like
more of a
so
boost
now,
you get?
yeah, or downloadable degrees. Like here is so a degree. Let's say a degree at Detroit at Troy. What does that cost? Like for 4 years, 100,000, 50,000.
Troy?
Yeah,
No, that not 100,000. Let's see.
let's say
So
50.
yeah, because I mean, think about an average semester at Troy probably comes out to around 4,000.
Oh wow, so that's nothing. So
Or not
imagine
even
whatever.
that, not even that. I think an entire year actually. I'm trying to remember if I paid 4,000 for one semester or if that was for the whole year. Not sure.
Yeah.
But Troy
Any,
is relatively cheap compared to other universities.
so let's say that they've got the entire degree in this little bucket, and all you have to do is go and sleep in this chair. You pay us $25,000, and then we download all the relevant information into your head, and there's your degree.
Hey, that'd save us a lot of time.
Yep. I mean, because all sleep is essentially is just your body slowing down to the point to where it can flush all the bad stuff out of your brain. I believe that's my understanding of it, where it like flushes all the byproducts of your brain operating during the day, like it's thinking like all the byproducts and stuff. That's just flushing it out into your system, out of your system. So if they had a process that like double time that, and then so instead of getting 8 hours, you can get 4 hours and theoretically feel the same. And then instead of a third of your life sleeping, it's a sixth of your life.
Yeah, and well, and also, I mean, something else that happens in your sleep is your brain stores away information into your long-term memory.
Yeah,
Um,
that's just the DLC. That's all that is. DLC. We'll come up with that in a couple of minutes.
yeah, so that's why I'm thinking there could possibly be a way to exploit that in some way,
Mm-hmm.
take advantage of it. But I'm one of the many people who really I love having sleep where I can just go into a mode and just forget about everything. I
Yep.
need that.
I want to sleep for 12 hours, but I also want to fall asleep at 3 o'clock in the morning and wake up at 8.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I want. I want 10 hours of sleep, or the feeling of 10 hours of sleep, but I also want to go to bed, get back up, and start my shit. Keep it going. Keep the party running.
So they need to make some kind of way, like an Inception, where you can go into a deep layer of sleep, and it feels like even in that case, years. People going. I don't want to be down there for years, but if I could just
No.
feel like I've slept, like you said, for 12 hours in a like 4 hour window.
Well, not necessarily, because you're like a doctor or like a scientist, and you want to work on this. Like it's like, hey, we've got 5 months till this meteor hits. If you get all the world's scientists you get them inception, and then they have 17 years to figure out this problem. They wake back up. It's like we have the solution.
Yeah. Wow, just like overnight.
Yeah, overnight.
We've figured out how to travel out of the galaxy and live on another
In like
planet.
a month, because it's been 200 years of human progress in like a month.
Insane. I don't. Oof. See that's something that almost sounds like it's so
Too good to be
cool
true.
that it couldn't possibly happen. So
Yeah,
I'd
no.
almost want to be dismissive of it, but I mean, like if you were to go back 50 years ago and tell people about the internet, they probably wouldn't believe that in a million years, you know?
Dude, 50 years ago, at the end of your college stay, it's like, Oh well, Brock, CGI wants to move me to Louisiana. It's like I'm never gonna see you again. It's like no, no, you can just call me on the internet. It's like what's the internet?
Yeah, it's like,
They'll
what?
write letters and they'll take a week, and then one of them will get lost.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, dude, yeah, just imagine. Because I mean, like back in the day, right? You move out of town, that's you pretty
That's
much,
it.
that's it, you know? If you intend on writing letters or whatnot, fine. But for most people, I mean, you're probably never going to see these people again.
They're like a phone call, or it's like a once a year deal.
Yeah, once a year, nothing like it is now, where you can move to anywhere in the world and still essentially talk face to face with people.
But now we can all get Oculus headsets and haptic feedback gloves, and then we can all go to Kyle's party room where there's a virtual couch where we all sit down and play board games and watch TV and like arm wrestle.
We just have it to where we never have to leave our homes again. We do everything in
Um,
the virtual world. Now that's Black Mirror like. That's
yeah. Is it bad that I'm kind of excited for that shit?
I mean, you probably couldn't help but to be excited for it. Um because it's just something we probably can't really imagine, and we've never experienced it, so
Yeah, that's a
no, I
whole
would.
new type of.
Yeah, and it could be for better or worse. The
Yeah,
way technology is looking now, though, it seems like a lot of it is for worse.
yeah. Because now you're gonna have this entire like the Rose Bowl, and then you've got like seven copies of the Rose Bowl, and one is anti-vaxxers. Like Biden stole the election, climate change is fake, uh, QAnon, and fucking everything. Just
Yeah, like, could you imagine basically if you could create your own, if people could just create their own inner bubble worlds where you could go and live where Trump is the president in 2021 and just live in
yeah,
that universe, live in that reality.
yeah.
Just basically make up your own realities in the virtual world.
There's a QAnon planet where they have like recreations of like Hillary Clinton and Tom Hanks, and they run them down and shoot them with a rifle. And then they see Tom Hanks, it's like he's a fucking pedophile. I've killed him 100 times, and I've seen the papers, seen the photographs.
Or you can live in a universe where the world is flat and
Right? You just walk. Everybody can walk off the edge of the earth. They can like pay for like a ferry to drive them off the edge of the earth. They're like the flat Earth isn't real. It's like no, it is. In my group, in the virtual world, I've walked off the edge hundreds of times.
so it would basically just be like a 3D virtual implementation of kind of what we already have now, essentially.
It is a feedback loop times cancer and crack.
So, yeah, I don't know. I would never dismiss it as possibly happening, but
No,
I,
because to get it to buy no, but to buy to your first time you go to QAnon World, you have to pay $100. QAnon gets $20, and then Oculus gets the rest, like $80. So if there's a million people that believe in QAnon, and they'll pay $100 because it's just one time, $100, one time only. That means that's a billion people by $80. Facebook will be like, hey, look, QAnon's on their own planet. It won't affect anybody else in Snowflake Land. Just let them have their own planet. It doesn't matter. They killed Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks gave us the licensing to his figure and image. He's fine. We gave him like $50 billion. Let him kill Tom Hanks in this universe. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect you over here in the real world, right? There's no issue.
yeah, unless they can make the virtual world uh, mimic more like the real world where you can actually knock someone off in the virtual world. Imagine that.
That's some. Yeah, see, that's that shit they didn't expect. That's that one guy that was like he just went with his friends, and his friends paid for his ticket into QAnon land, and then he's like, "It is real. It's all real. I fucking knew it. I told him he was crazy, and now we have to kill the real Tom Hanks." And it just goes down from there.
Oh yeah, all downhill.
Or we legalize drugs federally, and then everyone will be way too happy and forgiving to hurt anyone. It'll just be big hugs, just giant hugs.
Yeah, maybe.
Which we actually did. Y'all got it medically legalized, if I recall that correctly.
I don't know. I don't know if the PCP people will necessarily be willing to get along with everyone else. Seems like they might clash with some of the meth heads and crack heads.
I mean, when I say drugs, I meant weed and mushrooms. That's it. Like everything else, just that down.
Gotta get, yeah. Which I'm kind of curious now as to. I kind of what's interesting with was it Oregon? Was it Oregon that legalized the drugs? See, in like some way, this can be an experiment almost. It's almost like you can look at it as a test environment. We can see if the drug situation improves over the next couple of years, or if it gets worse and more people start dying. Then we have kind of an example to go by. And I kind of like that idea, that approach. Not everyone does. I like the approach of testing things out at the state level and seeing seeing how it, rather than just taking something and trying to apply it across the whole nation before we really even know what the consequences could be. I think testing it at the state and local levels first is more ideal.
Now, and we wouldn't even need that, because if the hospitals were and the universities were like Mississippi it used to be the only college that had federal permission to do any test or experiments with marijuana. If they just lifted that, put a government agent in there just to oversee everything, and then just gave Johns Hopkins, Children's Hospital, the VA, just like, here's weed, here's psilocybin mushrooms, run your test, don't fuck up or screw us over, and then publish your results. But we already know the results. You can't die from overdosing on either one of them. You may think a dragon's coming after you and you run off a building. That's a bad high. That happens. It's going to happen. But you can't overdose.
Right. Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah, in the cases of drugs, I could see you could create something to that effect. Definitely. You definitely want, and you want to include like the real world environment variables as well, because like you want to experiment. You want to see what people going through everyday life, how they're going to handle the substances and whatnot, and how it's going to affect their lives and everything. Rather than just being like in a controlled room where you can test their live, you can test their results and their mental state and whatnot. You want to be able to take everything into account if they're gonna not go crazy at work and
then the wires become snakes and start choking him, and he rips them off and runs to the building and start beating the shit out of the doctor because it's an ogre now. It's like, I'll let them exist like naturally. Like, you can't like have sensors like hooked up to them. They're gonna freak the fuck out.
Oh yeah. Which is
like, I remember like I've always like, because in Boston it's legal there, so I was like, I shall partake, and it was so crazy because it was almost like those old horse carriages where they had blinders on, right, to make them just look ahead, so they were distracted. Literally, those blinders disappeared. And I remember walking down the street, and this lady dropped her purse. And as I'm staring straight ahead, I can see her perfectly. The purse falls, and I like focus on her, and I see her perfectly even as my head's rotating. It was like a second field, like my entire 180 vision, like that paranoia that people talk about. It's like you're not paranoid, you're just hyper aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, and that idea scares the crap out of me. I, I don't know.
Because then you've got shit coming from the back of your head that you've been putting off. It's like, I'll talk about my childhood traumas later. Let's repress that shit. Your body's like, oh, no, 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 no. 20 years you've been repressing this. All of it's coming out right now, bitch. Get ready for
it. You're ready for the roller coaster.
And think about if we've got think about if Obama like had to do psilocybin. Could you imagine? What if he's like confronted with all the children that were killed in drone strikes during his presidency? You don't want to do that. You don't want to have to deal with that shit.
No, probably not. I mean, may make you think twice though about drone striking things in the future.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like everybody here, like Mitch McConnell and everyone, like Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi. You'll see the hundreds of people that have died from only getting one stimulus check from suicides, and they'll just be like, "Oh God, I've killed hundreds of thousands of people, and it's all my fault." It's like, yeah, you did, and they'll never do it again. I honestly think if everyone was to take like a really good hit of psilocybin, there would be a lot less like hardline Republicans. Like you can still be conservative, but you couldn't look at like a starving immigrant in Syria and just be like, well, my grandparents came here illegally and you have to too. No, it's not going to work like that. You're going to be like, well, if I got to pay 10% more taxes a year so that person's not hungry and these demons will get the fuck off of me, then fuck it, let's do it.
Man. That should be the new Democrat strategy to win over the base of America. Just administer psilocybin to everyone.
Just release it into the water.
Yeah. That would
release
probably be the most
water
likely scenario.
Dude, I'm ready for it too.
Brock, I'm sure you are. You'd be like collecting it by the jugs, just downing it.
Jugs, just like IV drips. I've got like 7 IV drips, just pumping my arms, just sitting there. Like my eyes have colored over in rainbow, like an oil spill. Like, I've created 7 new religions in the past 10 minutes.
It's like, great, now we have a whole country that's high on psilocybin. How is this going to play out?
Oh, and everybody will be fine the day after. We may have like 100,000 people accidentally die if they're like trying to do dumb shit. Like if you randomly released into the water supply, mom and dad, like the soccer mom's got her thermos driving down the highway and drinks and just like, oh, look, I'm playing Mario Kart and they're coins, and she's running into the soccer field. It's like, that's not what I'm talking about. You gotta like sit in the middle of the field with like no wolves that are gonna come and eat, because you're just gonna sit here and now everything's okay. And then the world is up to you.
You've officially eliminated all the Karens in the U.S. Now no one will ever be going up to customer service and cussing the person out because they couldn't get their $10 coupon.
Right. That they know is expired. They know that bitch is expired, but they're like, I'm special.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe that would make the whole customer service experience more doable then.
Then you wouldn't need the customer experience people because they just check out on the digital one, and then they don't have anyone to complain to.
True that. Uh-oh, looks like my wife is home.
Oh, Hope is back.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to dip out here.
Yeah, you told me an hour, and we got that hour in, man. I'll definitely be able to, well, I'll be able to see you, I'll be able to see you around Christmas time. But thank you for coming over. It was great talking to you, and I'll see you next time.
Definitely.
Bye, everybody.
Again, we can have a longer session.